The Arizona Coyotes start the season 0-1. Pittsburgh Penguins 6-2, the final score. Plus, Nick Schmaltz out with injury. Who's going to be replacing him? We're going to talk about that all on today's episode of Locked On Coyotes.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, one and all, to this episode of Locked On Coyotes. Today's episode brought to you by Bet Online. Bet Online has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. Bet Online, where the game starts. I'm Robyn Leonio. That's Carl Pavlak. We both want to thank you all for making this show your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including on YouTube. Do you also want to give an apology for those who wanted to tune into our live show last night, but unfortunately we had some technical difficulties with our streaming service that kept us from doing so. But we still have an episode out for you guys anyways. But Coyotes lose 6-2, Carl, to start the season. It was more than we expected, but we still expected the Coyotes to drop this one.
Yes. I think we both said the Coyotes would lose 4-2. And for a while, it looked like we were right. But the Coyotes gave up two very late goals and just spoiled our predictions. Not great, but like you said, it was expected that the Coyotes were going to have a difficult time with this one.
Yeah, I think even when you saw the lines too, you were like, I don't know how I feel about this, especially the defensive pairs. Just like, it's just so many questions,
There were definitely a lot of questions, and I mean, I'm not going to lie, after a 6-2 loss, I don't know how many answers we have, but things are not looking great in Coyotes land.
Oh no, absolutely. Let's start off with the worst of this, and that is the fact that most of Pittsburgh's goals happened in the first 5 minutes and 10 seconds. That just took 5 minutes and 10 seconds for Pittsburgh to score 3 goals, make it a 3-0 game, and we were just like, what's happening?
Well, I think the most important thing is one of those goals came immediately after a power play. Nick Schmaltz was leaving the penalty box, I believe, as it happened. The other came during a power play. So the Coyotes' lack of discipline definitely played a big part in their loss.
Yeah, I think that did too. Plus, you can see in the first period the frustration from the Coyotes, particularly from Zach Kassian.
Yeah.
Zach Kassian made himself known physically and just kind of got into scrums a little bit too easily.
Yeah.
And it showed.
I would definitely agree with that. He got a holding call against Chris Letang, a double minor for roughing. Or no, actually, it looks like Nick Ritchie got that minor for roughing, but Kassian was in the box for it. The officiating was so weird, but yeah, Kassian definitely got caught and sent to the box a couple times. It was not a great start for his career as a Coyote.
Oh no, definitely wasn't. I mean, like at the same time, I think we expected something like that. Because again, we were like, oh yeah, no, like Kassian's gonna be a physical guy. He's gonna, use that, and he's gonna be Zach Kassian.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it didn't work out for the Coyotes. I mean, luckily, like it wasn't too much in the sense where like the Coyotes were ended up getting points against on those deals, right? It just didn't help them.
Yeah. Cassian didn't like completely hinder the Coyotes. He just didn't add anything. And, if you're a general manager like Bill Armstrong and you're acquiring a Zach Cassian, you know what you're going to get. Like, there's no mystery to the type of player Zach Cassian is. And, I think he is somewhat the type of player that the Coyotes want to have. I don't necessarily see why it's necessary to have him on the same line as a Liam O'Brien. It feels like a hat in a hat type of situation with that.
Yeah, and I think that's the interesting decision to make. Like, why have Liam O'Brien and Zach Cassian on the same line? We discussed
Yeah.
that in the pregame episode. We're like, that's a decision. Like, you kind of expect them to kind of rotate them in, maybe, but to have both of them together, it's like, what kind of message is Bill Armstrong and Andre Toriani trying to make here?
Yeah. Although it should definitely be noted that neither of them are the reason that the Coyotes lost this one.
No.
Both looks like they played over 10 minutes. O'Brien 10-11, Cassian 11-44. And both of them, well, O'Brien was 0, Cassian was a -1. So, it's not like there's a major negative aspect associated with that. Like the Coyotes just like they have so many areas where they need to improve. That's just kind of one of them. Like you look at the fourth line and you think you're not getting much more out of that other than just a very physical presence, like a grounding line.
Absolutely. Let me also mention too the other major issue for the Coyotes this game, Carl, and that's the fact that through 30 minutes, in the first half of the game, the Coyotes only posted 7 shots on goal.
Yes. The Coyotes' lack of any kind of rubber on the goaltender is returned. It's something we saw a lot last year. It's something I think we're going to see a lot this year because a lot of reasons they're just not good enough to be to have possession more, to generate more shots, to prevent their opponents from generating shots. Like if shots on goal is a very kind of loose approximation of how good a team is, like they're just not good. And so, yeah.
Absolutely. But I mean, they did catch things up. I think the second half of the second period, they kind of ramped things up a little bit. They were a little bit tighter in their game. They worked
Sure.
on it. They worked on their things. It's like, okay, they're learning from their mistakes in the first period.
Yeah. I mean, the Coyotes definitely had a collapse in one period, and then they were bad to okay for the other two, which is something we saw a lot last season.
Except this one happened in the first period.
Yeah, it was, and the Coyotes definitely did that. It wasn't all second period collapses. Those were just the most common. They also had first period collapses. This was an immediate collapse, and then they kind of tried to dig themselves out of a hole. It does kind of give me hope that they'll at least play respectably. Like in some games, like I always like look for that fight,
Mhm.
and they did seem to show it, especially with the 2 Nick Ritchie goals.
Absolutely. That's the interesting thing. Like, would we have seen Nick Ritchie scoring 2 goals? Like, that's
I mean, I did guess that he would get the Coyotes' first goal of the season. I didn't think about 2, but I think he's kind of like a sleeper player for the Yotes.
yeah. I mean, I definitely have liked him ever since he's come to the Yotes, right? I think he's had he's looked really good since
Yeah.
coming over. So like it's good to mention that. Like obviously it's not like, oh wait, where did this kid come from? No, because like he played well to end the year last year.
Yeah. And he played well in Boston, I believe,
Hmm.
the year he was there. He's had some decent seasons with the Ducks. I remember not enjoying watching the Coyotes play against him. He just kind of like hit a low point in Toronto, and the Coyotes are the type of team where you can just come in and if you can play, there's a spot for you.
Absolutely, and Shane Gottspear is one of those guys, and Gottspear was credited for the primary assist in the first goal.
For both goals,
For
actually.
both goals, there you go.
Yeah, and JJ Mosier, the secondary assist for both goals as well. It was nifty to see like the same three people. I loved that second Nick Ritchie goal though, just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, no, it was like it was something like if no one has seen it, just go ahead and take a look at the highlights for that. But anyways, we got more to get to though on this episode of Locked On Coyotes. We're going to talk about injuries to the team and what we're going to plus what the Coyotes got to do moving forward. We're going to get to that in just a moment, but first a quick word from Carl.
So, betonline.net is your number one source for football betting information this season. It's where you can find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in depth articles and analysis on every game you can find. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sports wagering information with live betting and up to the minute scores for every sport out there. It's the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including Major League Baseball, MMA, boxing, and golf, and hockey. You can head over to betonline.net or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts.
All right, so now let's move on to the next bit of business here, Carl, and it's some news that a lot of you probably don't want to hear, but unfortunately, we're a Coyotes podcast, and we try to keep you up to date with all the Coyotes news. But Nick Schmaltz injured within the first 2.5 minutes of this game, Carl, and did not return, and is not expected to return for a decent amount of time.
Yeah, no. Nick Schmaltz with an early injury. He is definitely proving to have a history with injuries. Who knows how long this one's going to be? I don't think there's been anything official yet, but could definitely be,
Yeah, he's definitely missing some time, and we very well know he's at least missing the game
Saturday.
on Saturday, which sets us up for another thing. Before we get to that, talking about that though, yeah, obviously it sucks to have Schmaltz out this early, right? Because Schmaltz is a key player, and when you lose a key player to injury in game one, that's just like, oh god, here we go again.
He is also a big part of Clayton Keller's game, and Keller is just coming back from injuries. Like his guy is gone now, and that is definitely unfortunate. Like you'd like to give Keller some time to get some chemistry back with the player he has played the best with his entire career.
Oh no, absolutely. Like I think that's the thing you got to consider because obviously we've discussed Clayton Keller being like the pulse of this team, and like you said, without Schmaltz, like there's a big difference in the game in how they and it's not it's not like life and death difference, but it's a big difference.
Yeah. And credit to Nick Schmaltz. I think he is the player who stepped up the most when Keller fell to injury last season. Real quick, just because we're on the topic of injuries, in the pregame show, I saw that they asked Lawson Krause how it felt for the team to lose Clayton Keller, and I believe he was injured like 2 games before or 2 games after. Just the entire time, I was just like, we gotta keep remembering to bring up Lawson Krause because he's also injured at the same time.
Yeah,
and we kept talking about how Keller was such a big piece. And then in like the first preseason, it's like, so it was really bad when they missed Keller, right? I just found that really funny.
Oh yeah, no, it's like, which is as a sign is to people, make sure you do your research.
I mean, yeah, the one guy you can kind of be like, well, let's be fair, most of the team, or a significant chunk of the team, just wasn't on the team at that point. But like one of the guys from last season where you can't ask that question to, because he was also out of there. Although I'm sure like Lawson Krause did not enjoy seeing Clayton Keller get sidelined for the rest of the season. No one wanted to see that.
Absolutely. But let's move on though, because as I mentioned, Nick Schmaltz is out for at least the next game on Saturday, but that leaves Dylan Guenther, Spicy Dill, prepared to make his NHL debut on Saturday. Carl, how excited are you for that?
That should be good. Nothing's confirmed, of course, yet, but we had to get a look at Dylan Guenther at some point, and Saturday seems like a good time to go. Just throw him right in.
Throw him right into the fire against Boston. It's gonna be,
Yeah.
it's gonna be something. But it's exciting though because we're finally getting to see a glimpse into the future of the Coyotes to kind of see, all right, how does Dylan Guenther fit into this team? Where is he gonna slot in? Obviously he's filling in for Nick Schmaltz's position, but do you think where do you slot him in on the lines?
Well, I mean, is he necessarily going to be in the Schmaltz position, or is the Coyotes gonna like try and protect him a little bit? Pair him with like a Keller.
Well, yeah.
Let's say
What
Keller,
I'm
Hayton, Guenther, maybe something
Yeah.
like that.
Well, what I was getting at is the fact that like these lines are going to get jumbled up,
Oh yeah,
and that tends to happen during injury. And so to see, like when I mean Dylan Guenther taking Nick Schmaltz's spot, it's like he's taking his spot up on the wing,
yeah,
but doesn't necessarily mean first, second, or third line or whatever it is. He's just taking what Nick Schmaltz's spot on the wing would be, and now you're just jumbling up these lines because you got to make sure they works in the best interest of every player, not just your top guys.
yeah. Who do you think that the Coyotes pair him with?
I would really like to see him alongside Hayton.
Hayton, I thought Hayton had a really good game. Keller I thought was actually kind of quiet, but Hayton like had a few solid chances. He looked really hungry for a goal. I think he would be a great person to put Guenther with.
Yeah, you move like you have like let's say second line like Krause, Hayton, and Guenther.
That'd be good. That'd be good. Have Krause just go stand in front of the goaltender. Hayton do a little bit of playmaking, find an open Guenther who can just fire it home. I could see that working.
I think that would be really fun to watch. Obviously, we're only speculating here, but like it seems, well, like I said, it seems very likely that we're going to see the spicy dill season begin on Saturday.
Yeah. I will say I did think that the Coyotes' power play was moderately well. Yeah, they weren't phenomenal, but they did good.
They got
Guenther
two
seems like
goals.
he'd be they got 2 out of 5 options. Guenther seems like he could be a great addition for that.
That would be really fun to watch too. And if any of you have watched Gunther and in many highlights from him playing with in the WHL, like he is a delight to watch. So like if you haven't got a chance to see any bit of him yet, you will very soon, and be prepared and be excited.
Yeah, Guenther highlights were pretty much the only kind of saving grace for last season.
It's just like, oh no, this team is really bad. Hey, let's take a look at the WHL. How's Dylan Guenther doing?
So since we're talking about the lineup, I did have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Which of the new players did you think stood out best? We're talking about Guenther. He's going to make his NHL debut. We got a whole bunch of new Coyotes. Who do you think kind of played best?
Who? It's hard to say. I've man, I'm trying to think of who really stood out to me. And like, to be honest, like I don't think I was paying attention too much. Like I think I was heavily focused on the top guys, and
Yeah.
like no
I
one
was gonna
really.
say like Timmins kind of did, but
Okay, yeah,
he's not
I'll
new.
give it to Timmins. Like I think he showed enough of a presence defensively to kind of do. I think he blocked several shots. Like you just put his body there. Um,
I just remember a couple of his like shots from the point. They looked really good. Let me see how many shots he blocked. Not seeing any recorded block shots, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen or that he didn't save a couple of things.
how many
But
takeaways though?
takeaways also 0.
Really interesting.
Yeah. That's the NHL website for you.
Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't capture everything. Maybe my eyes were deceiving me too, but
Yeah. He definitely passed the eye test on my end, so I'm sure you also saw kind of good aspects of his game. Yeah, that was kind of a question that I was mulling over in my head because Cassian we talked about, but not in the good way. And then Bukestad, I think he had a good moment or two in the game, but
yeah,
nothing
but
kind of
for the most part was very like invisible to me.
yeah. Heck, I thought Fisher had a better look than Bukestad. But it's just game one. There's still plenty of hockey to left.
Oh yeah, there's still plenty of hockey left to play. We're only game 1 of 82, so one down, 81 to go, Carl. We're in for a long season.
You saying it after a 6-2 loss just makes it feel so much longer. Just
Oh
so
yeah,
much.
I know. But we'll get through this together. I
Yeah.
think here with the Locked On Coyotes podcast, we're gonna try to keep everyone, at least entertained, as entertained as possible, and excited for the future of the Coyotes. We've been trying to do that as best we can over the last couple seasons, and I think we'll continue to do that as much as we can, especially with a pretty good future ahead.
Yeah. Mosier has 2 points, and he seems like, definitely a player who's going to be with the franchise long term. So that's something good.
Absolutely. Let's turn our heads now, Carl, very briefly to the Boston game. Just because it's kind of as like a very uh, short, like 5-minute preview or whatever, as much as we can. Because, like we said, Gunther's going to get his debut. Very likely. It's not confirmed, but very, very likely.
Yeah.
It's like all signs point to it, kind of likely. Um, what will your expectations for that game be?
I do expect the Coyotes to have a better start just because it was so rough. Like that needs to be drilled into their head, uh, you know, tomorrow and on Saturday morning that they need to start better. And I think they're going to respond. I don't know if it's going to be enough. Like the Coyotes are still coming together. We're still not seeing like great chemistry on the blue line. There's the discipline issues could be because they're not familiar enough or comfortable enough in the system that they're getting caught out of place. But yeah, I don't know if the Coyotes are going to be able to cover their deficits again.
Yeah, that's gonna be an interesting thing. I mean, like, yeah, let's take a look at last year as an example. I mean, it was different because the teams that they played to start the year. But maybe we'll see something in a similar sense where that first game was just absolutely terrible because the Coyotes just were not ready.
Yeah.
And their second game they had last year was against Buffalo, so very different than who the Coyotes are going to be up against that game 2 this year and with Boston. But maybe in a very similar sense, the Coyotes will just keep a tighter game, right? They will keep things a little bit closer. Yeah, they're not going to win probably, but it will be closer.
Yeah. And then, like, I just don't want the Coyotes to have that horrible start. I want, like, they're going to be bad. They don't need to be absolutely horrible. And next week we do have Montreal and Ottawa. Ottawa just dropped their first game of the season 4-1 to the Buffalo Sabres. Which, hey, maybe that'll ramp up the Chychrun trade talk.
Yeah, no, I think, and then especially because Ottawa is the team that is the most connected to a potential Chychrun trade. I think there have been some like talks about other Canadian teams, I think, out there. But I think Ottawa is the most consistently like their name at the top.
They seem to come up the most.
Yeah, we've been trying. I've been still planning on talking to our friends at Locked On Senator so we can figure something out. Maybe work our own kind of deal with them. But that will be in the works.
I kind of want to have them on after Jacob Chychrun gets traded someplace else. That'd be fun.
That would be interesting. That would. We're like, all right, so Chychrun is now on this team. How do you feel? How do you feel about you're just getting robbed?
Yeah. How do you feel about everything that's going on with just all of your stuff, all of the Senator stuff? How's it going?
I love thinking about something like that, but we don't have odds yet for this game because it's still too early based off the time we're recording this. But what would be a score prediction for you for the Coyotes versus Bruins?
I'm going to say 3-2. And I'm not going to pick a winner, but 3-2.
Okay. I was going to go 3-1 Bruins win. But I will throw in a little extra fun anecdote on it. Would be Dylan Guenther will get his first NHL point.
That would definitely be something to see. And it's a 4 p.m. game, which is always kind of nice. I enjoy the afternoon games since you have a little bit of your night afterwards.
Oh, absolutely! I would definitely be looking forward to that. It's gonna be fun. And like I said, you'll be able to follow us on Locked On Coyotes. We'll talk about it. We'll do some post games. Maybe not this weekend because it's a Saturday, but we'll talk about it, and we'll probably have a full preview, probably or even recap, sometime this weekend. Not live, but we'll have something for you.
Yeah, we'll do something.
Absolutely exciting. But any final thoughts you want to share before we close things off?
Just that it's starting bad and it's gonna get worse, and then it'll get better eventually.
Yeah, just get ready, guys. You know as we've talked about this multiple times. We're in the painful part of the rebuild. Just stick through it, and we'll get there.
So I remembered a quote. I saw it in a Kurt Vonnegut book. I do not remember which person said it, but it's, if we go back, we die. If we go forward, we die. We go forward. Just got to keep going forward.
Yep. Just got to keep going forward. But on that note, that's going to be it for today's episode of Locked On Coyotes. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you have yet to already. We're available everywhere you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/LockedOnCoyotes, and on Twitter at LO_Coyotes. I am personally at Robyn_Leonio. Carl Pavlock is at Carl Pavlock FFH. Interact with us, ask a question you might have. We might answer right back or on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in to today's episode. episode. Hope you guys are safe. Hope you guys are staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.